Welcome to Unbound, the podcast with Beth Curry, author, storyteller, and survivor. This is where books meet real life, where Beth reads chapters from her work and breaks free from the traditional audiobook format, diving deeper into the personal experiences, lessons, and liberation behind every page. Nothing is off limits. Let's get unbound.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unbound Season 2, The Weight of Truth. I'm Beth Curry, and this is Chapter 5, The Comfortable Trap. That breath I took when I first discovered body positivity, it was supposed to be a deep inhale before getting back to work on my life. Instead, it turned into a years-long exhale that nearly suffocated me. What started as relief from self-hatred slowly morphed into permission to stop trying altogether. What began as I don't have to hate my body became, I don't have to do anything about my body. What felt like self-love was actually just a prettier, sparklier, glammed-up version of giving up. Lies, though, they feel so much better than uncomfortable truths that your brain will do Olympic-level mental gymnastics to keep believing them. The body positivity movement had given me a whole arsenal of thoughts that felt good in the moment but were slowly killing me in the long run, and I clung to those thoughts like life rafts, even as they were dragging me underwater. Listen, I'm about to blow your mind with something so simple, you're going to want to punch me for not figuring it out sooner. I mentioned it in Chapter 4. I call it Deja Moo, same BS, different day. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's how it works. Life throws facts at you, just neutral, boring facts. There are brownies in the kitchen. The scale shows X number. My sister said, I look like I'm gaining weight. But here's where we fuck ourselves over. We don't just see facts. We have thoughts about the facts. And those thoughts, they create feelings. Those feelings drive what we do. And what we do creates our results. So when there are brownies in the kitchen, fact, and you think, it's not fair, I can't have them, thought, you feel rebellious, feeling, so you eat the whole damn tray, action, and then you feel like shit and gain weight, result. But here's the kicker. You can change your thought about the same exact fact. There are brownies in the kitchen, same fact. But now you think, I can have a brownie when I'm actually hungry. New thought. You feel in control, feeling. So you go back to what you were doing, action, and you stay on track, result. Same fact, different thought, completely different life. And you still get the brownie if you want it. I learned this the hard way when I was sitting at my computer Googling those terrible things on that day in May of 2012. The fact was, I weigh almost 400 pounds, but my thought was, I'm disgusting and hopeless. That created feelings of despair, which led to the action of researching suicide, which would have resulted in, well, you get it. When I changed my thought to, I need help and my life is worth saving, everything else changed too. Deja Moo is happening whether you're aware of it or not. The question is, are you going to let it run on autopilot with the same old bullshit thoughts that got you here? Or are you going to take control of the one thing you actually can control? What goes on between your ears? Let me show you how Deja Moo was working during my years in the trap. The facts. I was still almost 400 pounds. I still couldn't walk upstairs without losing my breath. I still avoided mirrors, photos, and social situations. I still felt like shit most of the time. My body positive thoughts. My weight doesn't define my health. I'm practicing self-love by accepting my body. Society is the problem, not me. I'm fighting society and all its beauty standards by refusing to diet. How those thoughts made me feel. Righteous. Justified, like I was taking some kind of brave political stand by staying exactly where I was. My actions from those feelings. I kept eating the same way. I avoided exercise because movement for weight loss is diet culture. I surrounded myself with content that reinforced those ideas. I got defensive when anyone suggested I might be healthier at a lower weight. The results? I stayed almost 400 pounds. I stayed miserable. I stayed trapped in a body that was slowly dying, but now I had a whole philosophical framework that made it seem noble. The most insidious part of this trap is that it felt like growth. It felt like healing. It felt like I was doing the work of self-acceptance and rejecting harmful societal messages. And some of that was true. I was rejecting harmful messages about my worth as a human being. But I was also rejecting the very real signals my body was sending me that something was wrong. Because guess what nobody talks about in body positive spaces? Your gut knows the difference between authentic self-love and bullshit self-deception, and my gut was never quiet during those years, no matter how many mantras I repeated. Deep down, I knew that health at every size wasn't true for me at 400 pounds. Deep down, I knew that my knees hurting and my breathing being labored weren't just coincidences. Deep down, I knew avoiding all mirrors and photos wasn't actually body acceptance. It was body avoidance. But every time my gut tried to tell me these things, I had a body positive comeback ready. Gut, you feel like shit all the time. Me, that's internalized fat phobia talking. Gut, you're avoiding activities you used to love because of your weight. Me, society needs to be more inclusive, not me smaller. Gut, you're not actually happy. Me, happiness isn't about weight, that's diet culture lies. I had turned body positivity into a religion, and like any fundamentalist, I was more interested in protecting the ideology than examining whether it was actually serving me. It was just more nonsense in the sizzling skillet of bullshit that diet culture is. The trap isn't just about body positivity, though. It's about any belief system that prioritizes feeling good right now over living well long term. It's about choosing the thoughts that require the least from you, even when those thoughts are keeping you stuck. The trap is choosing to think, I deserve this donut because I had a hard day, instead of I deserve to feel good in my body tomorrow morning. The trap is choosing to think, diets don't work, so why try, instead of I haven't found the right approach for me yet. The trap is choosing to think, this is just how I am, instead of I'm capable of change, even if it's uncomfortable. I spent years in this trap, and the scariest part is how gradually it happens. You don't wake up one day and decide to give up on yourself. You just start choosing the easier thought, then the easier action, then the easier result, one tiny decision at a time, until you're so far from where you want to be that the journey back seems impossible. But here's what I learned. The trap isn't actually that comfortable. It just feels less scary than the alternative. Living in a body that's slowly dying isn't comfortable. It's just familiar. Avoiding mirrors and photos isn't comfortable. It's just easier than facing reality. Making excuses for why you can't change isn't comfortable. It's just less work than actually changing. Real comfort comes from living in alignment with who you actually want to be. Real comfort comes from taking care of yourself in ways that make you proud. Real comfort comes from doing hard things because they lead to easier living. The trap promised me peace, but it never delivered. Not even once. Because you can't find peace in a life you're not proud of. You can't find peace when you're lying to yourself. You can't find peace when you're slowly giving up on your own dreams and calling it self-love. I had to choose, stay in my slow suicide or get uncomfortable with the possibility of actually living. The day I made that choice, the day I chose discomfort over death, was the day my real life began. Real talk questions. What self-love practices are actually just avoidance? Be brutal here. What are you calling self-care that's actually just self-sabotage? What are you calling body acceptance that's actually body neglect? Your gut knows the difference. Listen to it. When you're being body positive, does your gut feel peaceful or anxious? This is the test. Real self-love feels peaceful in your body. Bullshit self-love feels like you're trying to convince yourself of something. What does your gut say when you repeat body positive mantras? What would happen if you stopped making excuses for 1 week? Just 1 week. What if you stopped saying my weight doesn't affect my health? Or I'm just built this way? Or whatever your version of lies sounds like. What would you have to face? Bullshit detector exercise. For 1 day, notice every time you use body positivity language to avoid taking action and write it down. Example log, 9 a.m., saw gym clothes, thought exercise for weight loss is diet culture, avoided working out. 1 p.m., wanted second helping, thought intuitive eating means eating what I want, overate. 6 p.m., avoided full-length mirror, thought I don't need external validation, avoided reality. 9 p.m., ordered pizza instead of cooking, thought I deserve to treat myself, chose convenience over health. The goal isn't to judge yourself, it's to get aware of how you're using positive language to stay stuck. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Truth bomb. There's nothing wrong with needing a place to rest when you're healing from years of self-hatred. The body positivity movement can be that place. But if you've been resting there for years and you're still not happy, maybe it's time to admit that the rest stop has become a trap. You're allowed to outgrow ideas that once served you. You're allowed to want more than just accepting a life that's slowly killing you. You're allowed to get uncomfortable in service of the life you actually want. The trap is only a trap if you stay in it. Okay, so Deja Moo. I need you to really understand this concept because it's going to be the foundation for everything else that I talk about this season. This isn't some woo-woo manifestation bullshit. This is basic cognitive behavioral therapy wrapped up in a stupid pun that makes it memorable. Facts are neutral. The brownies in the kitchen don't have an agenda. The number on the scale is just data. Your sister's comment is just words. None of these things have inherent meaning until you assign meaning to them through your thoughts, right? And that's where we get into trouble. We don't realize we're doing this. We think that our thoughts are the facts. We just think I'm disgusting is a fact when it's actually just a thought about a fact. We think I can't change is reality when it's actually just belief we've been repeating repeating so long that it feels true. Make sense? During my years in the body positivity trap, I was running Deja Moo, and I hadn't called it that until I wrote this damn book, on autopilot, with thoughts of, these thoughts that I had, they felt revolutionary, but they were just keeping me stuck. Like I said, my weight doesn't define my health. It felt empowering, but it kind of led me to ignore very real health problems, Society is the problem, not me. Felt righteous. And oh my gosh, is that ever a problem right now? Everybody's saying that stuff. But it prevented me from taking any personal responsibility for my situation. Like, what happened in this world that we've stopped doing that? The facts didn't change. I was still almost 400 pounds. My knees still hurt. I couldn't walk upstairs. My back was killing me. But I had thoughts about those facts that, made me feel justified in doing nothing, which created results where nothing changed. Duh. And that gut feeling that I kept mentioning, that is your internal bullshit detector. Your gut knows when you're lying to yourself. It knows the difference between authentic peace and performative acceptance. It knows when you're using pretty words to avoid those hard truths. We have been trained, though, to ignore our gut, especially in body positive spaces. Any discomfort, any desire to change, any whisper that says, this isn't working, gets labeled as internalized depression or diet culture programming or whatever. We're taught to kind of override our own knowing with ideology. Bullshit that we're fed constantly. And that bullshit detector exercise that I included, that's work. Do it. Please, please, please just try it. Start noticing how you use positive language and how it keeps you stuck. It doesn't actually lead you anywhere. There's no progress. Notice how self-care becomes an excuse for self-sabotage and stuff. Notice how body acceptance becomes permission for neglect. I'm not saying every instance of body positivity language is bullshit. I'm saying check in with your gut to know the difference, right? Some things might apply for you. Some might not. Most probably won't. And does this thought lead to peace or just temporary relief, right? Does the action serve your long-term well-being or just your immediate comfort? Does the belief align with who you want to become or just who you've been? The trap is comfortable in the way that slowly sinking into quicksand is comfortable. You're not fighting anymore. You're not struggling. You've stopped resisting, but you're also sinking. And eventually that comfort is going to kill you. Real comfort, the kind that actually feels like peace, that comes from living in integrity with yourself. It comes from taking actions that make you proud and doing hard things today so tomorrow can be easier. The trap promised me that I could have peace without work. I could have acceptance without change and self-love without any kind of discipline. Lazy way out, really. I bought it because it felt so much better than the alternative, which was getting radically honest about where I was and what I needed to do. But that's something that nobody tells you. Getting out of the trap is actually easier than staying in it. Not easier in the moment, but getting out requires effort and discomfort for sure, but easier in the long run because you're finally moving towards something instead of pretending that you're fine while you're slowly wasting away or dying. Like I said, you are allowed to outgrow ideas that once saved you. You are allowed to recognize that what helped you survive isn't necessarily what will help you thrive. You're allowed to choose discomfort over slow death. You are. The trap is only a trap if you stay in it, like I said. Before I go, I want to discuss this. If you want to discuss this episode with others, there's a Facebook group. Link is in the show notes. All my content is free and always will be, but if you want to support the production costs, that info is also in the show notes. I also accept e-transfer or PayPal if you don't want to go through a website where there's fees, potential fees for you, definitely fees for me. Reach out for details on that. And thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Unbound with Beth Curry. Join the conversation in the Facebook group or visit authorbethcurry.com. Want to support the show? Head to ko-fi.com/unbound podcast. Until next time, stay unbound.